current public debt stock of 334 billion Ghana cedis leaves each citizen with more than 11,000 as individual debt. That's if the provisional public debt stock ending June 2021 were to be evenly distributed amongst all 30 million Ghanaians. An analysis done by the Joy Research Desk using data from the Bank of Ghana's website suggests an increase from 9,700 Ghana cedis in 2020 to 11,113 in June ending 2021. We'll bring you a breakdown of the figures. And so in June, in 2015, the amount you would be owing as an individual citizen will be 3,333. In 2016, 4,066. In 2017, 4,733. In 2018, 5,766. In 2019, 7,226. In 2020, 9,700. And then this year, the number stands at 11,133. So that is how much you owe if the total debt stock of 334 billion Ghana cedis is evenly distributed amongst all Ghanaians. Let's do more on this. Dr. Abel Texan is a senior lecturer of economics at the University of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom to break this down for us. Doc, is it fair or accurate to say that Ghana is now in a debt distress situation per the IMF's current assessment?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers and listeners. I would not say we are very distressed. I mean, of course, there are concerns for the extent to which our debt service is eating up almost all our domestic revenue. So to that extent, yes, but we need to also situate all of this discussion about the debt with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic that hit. And so in discussing the debt, I think that we should be very careful. We are not a little bit biased in our portrayal of how high Ghana's debt has been, given that during the pandemic, there were issues that had to be contended with, like having to expend more than we were budgeting for. Domestic revenues also declined. And in the environment where revenues have declined and expenditure has increased, then, I mean, by all means, our debt was going to increase. So in discussing the debt, we need to be very, very mindful about the effect of the pandemic as well.
Indeed, government itself acknowledges, and even the opposition and other bodies that have made assessment of the current debt stock acknowledge the fact that COVID-19 has contributed to where we are, but it still doesn't change the fact about our debt stock and, of course, the impact that it will have on the ordinary Ghanaian, for instance.
Precisely. I mean, it won't change. And so we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing about it? One thing that is very important that we need to take a look at is to find out how, one, we can increase domestic revenue.
Okay.
It's quite critical because, I mean, once we have the fiscal space to comfortably pay or service the debt, then the concern would no longer be there. So it's very important that we increase our domestic revenues.
Okay.
It's also very important that we ask the question of, when we borrow, what would the money be used for? As I said, Ghana is seeking to recover as soon as possible. One way in which you can generate revenue is to expand the economy, create more jobs, people work and they pay taxes, and you can raise the domestic revenue. Because you cannot keep on taxing the same people by increasing the taxes or introducing new taxes. What is important is that expand the base of the economy and then you get more taxes.
But Dr. Texan, over the years, taxation has been a major source of revenue generation. And so when you say that we should increase revenue generation and government imposes tax, how else do you suggest that we do that in order to be able to close the gap, the deficits that we have there?
I mean, one of the structural problems that we've had is that we've had an economy that has a huge informal sector, a majority of which we are not able to pursue to pay taxes. So our domestic revenues are low. I mean, the level of domestic revenue that we expect for us to be very comfortable is about 25% of GDP, and we are running way below 20%. So that is a concern. Now, the alternative is either to increase taxes, but that is also not good because up to a point, the increase in taxes will not bring you more revenue. Because taxes are always a disincentive for production and all of that. So you want to find out how you can optimize your tax revenue. And one sure way to go is to try as much as possible to accrue the Ghana revenue to be able to expand the net so that we can get in more people who either were not paying taxes. And so I was excited to hear that once the Ghana card number had been merged with the team, we are having about 70 million people who potentially will pay tax. And that is very, very refreshing to note. And so what we pray is that the GIO will be equipped to ensure that these 70 million persons that have now been captured in the net will pay taxes. That is one way we can optimize our taxes. Another way we can optimize our tax revenue, which I think is key to all of this discussion. Because once our tax revenues increase to about 25%, then all of this discussion about debt, servicing the debt, and whether it is stressing us or not will not be discussed at all. And so it's important that we are able to put in place all the necessary infrastructure that will help. That is why the digitization is also critical, so that if the platform like the Ghana.gov payment platform is functioning well, then you can be very certain that payment of taxes will become easier. People will not avoid taxes because of the cost of filing your taxes and so on and so forth.
So you have given us two major points as I mean, these are ways by which you suggest we can improve the economy. Revenue, and of course, using the tool of digitization, and then prudent expenditure, using the monies we borrow prudently or judiciously. Now, for the ordinary person who is watching us right now, tell us very briefly how this issue of debt stock affects them directly and why they must, for all the other people who will be captured through the digital means, they must commit to, contributing their quota to make sure that we are out of the woods eventually.
Okay, I mean, so to other Ghanaians, what it means is that if government is not able to raise enough revenue, most of the revenue that will raise will go into debt service. Okay. So the fiscal space that will be left for government to even commit to funding other aspects of our budgets will be constrained, especially in providing the infrastructure that we need, in providing the sort of services that we require of government to ensure that we can be productive as individuals. So if you are looking for business processes to be made more efficient, if you are looking for government services to be more efficient, to reduce the cost of doing business, government, if it's having to use a greater chunk of its revenue to service its debt, will be left with little to be able to use to provide these services for us. So indirectly, when the debt to GDP ratio is high and we are stressed out in servicing the debt, the fiscal space is constrained. And for me as an individual, I'll become concerned because I'm expecting a road in my area to be tired. I'm expecting that I have enough energy to be able to be productive in terms of the businesses that I run. I'm expecting that if I need water to produce any service or good, I have water flowing through my taps. These are the sort of things that affect the average Ghanaian. And so if we all commit to making sure that we pay our taxes, because government can only do so much for us when we pay our taxes. And so it is important that every Ghanaian will try as much as possible to contribute in its own way in paying taxes so that we can hold the government responsible for whatever we expect them to do for us, and especially in creating jobs for the youth in this country. Absolutely. So it's refreshing that the youth bank is going to be set up. Government has to make sure that that bank, when it's set up, will not be politicized. There will not be a political capture of the bank. And every young man and woman who has ideas, who has opportunity to create their own jobs and not seek work, would have access to such resources to be able to become productive. That is the way we can expand the economy. And that is the way we can increase revenue and bring down our debt to GDP ratio.
Dr. Abotexton, I'm grateful for your time. That's an economist at the University of Ghana, helping us understand our current debt stock and how it affects you and I, and also what government must do in order to revive the economy.